Welcome back, everybody, to Catching You. I'm your co-host, Lacie Ham. With me is my beautiful daughter, Lacie. Lacie, say hi.
Hello.
And we have two special guests with us today. We met back in the day, 8U ASA National Championships. And back then, if you guys didn't know, there was no PGF back then, and there was no Alliance. So this was like the main championship for 8U. That was 8U,
10
right?
year.
10 years.
10, because it was girl pitch. Yeah.
Figured up. So 10 championships. That's right. So with us is Jason and Savannah Jones. Welcome to the Catching You podcast. How are you?
Yes, good. Thank you, Rusty.
I'm good. Thank you.
Yeah. So what's a little bit of background with you guys, and then we'll just dive right into some of the things that we normally talk about. This is the first time, just to be honest with you, to have a father-daughter, because this is a father-daughter podcast. This is our first one. So congratulations, being
Wow.
father-daughter.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Only been a year.
what's that?
It's only been a year.
It's only been,
Lots to talk about.
yeah. So Jason, just a little bit of background for you. What do you do? I don't know if you want to get into what you do, but also your sporting background. And yeah, just go for it.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jason Jones. We're from Danville, Indiana, central Indiana. Played baseball growing up till I was about 15, 16 years old. Had a coach that just ruined the game for me. And then I quit playing ball and really didn't get back into sports too much until Savannah was 7 years old and a local rec U field and started helping coach at that age. And then it just ballooned from there over the years.
And I tried not to coach Lacie, but sure, in high school, mainly, and I was an assistant. So did you coach her? Were you like the head coach of her teams mostly during those times?
So when she was young, I had coached some rec ball. And then when we went to travel ball, I assisted coached the entire way through travel ball from U through 16U, 18U ball. So I was always an assistant coach. Mostly I worked with the girls on hitting. I worked with our pitchers and did the pitch calling for all the games. So pitching was my kind of thing. And warmed up all the girls, all the pitchers, really got to know them, how they pitched, what they did to be successful, and worked with them, called all the games, mostly for the teams we played on.
Yeah, I remember those changeups you always called against.
Yeah, you got to know what your pitcher's good at for sure.
We'll get into that game in a second. Savannah, so talk about the beginnings, and then like your rec ball. What I want to hear, Savannah, is some of the rec ball team names. Those are the best. I want to hear some of those team names.
I'm not even sure, honestly, that I remember some of the team names. I know that they weren't good. Whatever they were, I remember I know that they were very cringy, probably. I'm being honest. Do you remember them, Dad? I remember I was playing on a few all-star teams and the rec ball teams, but I remember the colors better than I remember the names, believe it or not. Yeah, I started out in rec ball when I think it was 7, and my best friend on the team at the time decided she wanted to pitch, and I was very competitive, and at a young age, you see someone you care about do something, and it's like an initial thing to want to just copy what they do. So she was like, yeah, I'm learning to pitch. And I was like, yeah, I can do that too. And it was like an instant, like, I was like, right, Dad? No, you can't. I was
Yeah.
like, oh yeah, I can. And it was, I think right after that I got into lessons. I think I was about 7, right? Probably at the end of a couple all-star / rec ball seasons, and pretty much paved the way of my shortstop years into pitcher. But yeah, no, it was cool though, playing like with kids that I went to high school with and got to see grow up and know that I played with them throughout all the years. But yeah, I had a really great experience with rec ball, and I always had a love for competing for my hometown, which I thought was really cool.
Yeah, that's cool. What was your favorite cheer?
Oh gosh, I am not gonna lie. I'm like an in the zone person. Like you won't find me doing a whole lot I'm not a very more of a in the zone, locked in type of person.
It is.
I'm the opposite.
Yeah. What was one of the famous rec ball teams that your mom?
The Cotton Candy Crushers.
That's right.
Oh,
Yeah, they're so funny.
Head coach of that team.
My mom was the head coach. It was She was more on the having fun side, but like we were all still really competitive. I remember most of those girls on my team, but she would do all the cheers and be all game. But yeah, we were pink and called the Cotton Candy Crushers.
Oh boy, it is funny how this all started for us. The same girl Savannah was talking about was her best friend, and she stayed the night at our house one night, and her dad showed up early one morning to pick her up. And I said, "Man, you guys are stopping by early on a Saturday. What's going on today?" His daughter's 6, 7 years old, and we have softball tryouts today, and Savannah should come to tryouts, and you should help me coach a team. I'm going to coach a team, and that's literally how it started. I said, "You know what? Okay." I didn't even know they had softball in our community. We'd only been here 6 months, and he and I coached that first season together. And I'll never forget day one, Savannah's at like second base, and he hits a ground ball, and it's 2 foot from her. And she just stands there and watch it go by. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing here?
Like,
Literally just lets it go by. And that gets to, by the end of the year, both of those girls made all-stars. And it got to me being the rec league president a year later. And Savannah keeps talking about pitching, and I know nothing about it. And I'm just standing there one day, and a lady walks up and said, "Hey, I'm the new high school coach in town, and I wanted to see the local talent we had in Danville." And I said, "Yeah, I'm Jason. I'm president here." And we started talking, and I said, "Hey, do you know anybody that can give my daughter pitching lessons?" I said, "Because I'm trying to get that, and I don't know anybody here." I didn't think softball was very big in our area. And I pitched in college, and I'm just starting out my career. She goes, "I'll give her pitching lessons." And so that's how that started. Literally just both things were just a coincidence, right? To just meet somebody that got us into softball, and then meet somebody else that got her into pitching. And then that went to every week lessons until Savannah was with her till basically she started to play high school ball and couldn't get lessons from her anymore because she ended up being a high school coach. So
right.
just funny how that all happened by chance.
Jason, how painful was it at the beginning as a fellow father catching at that age?
I can tell you I would say the first 6, 8 months when all you're doing snapping balls, I'm like, what am I doing? I just drove 30 minutes to do an hour lesson, and all I did was sit on a bucket and just learn to spin the ball. That's all you were doing. It was so basic. And then when you really first started to pitch and the balls were going in the ground, hitting you, it was very challenging, very frustrating, honestly, for me at that age. However, Savannah did progress very fast, I will say. So the one thing I would say I learned was you can't just go to one lesson a week and leave it at that. You got to go to that lesson and work all week long to the next lessons. I think we learned that pretty quick. I started out not doing that, and I'm like, man, we're not progressing. So then we started practicing multiple times a week. That way I felt like we were getting more use out of our lesson instead of just practicing what we learned one week to the next at a lesson. It's a serious commitment to learn to be a pitcher at a young age, for sure.
Yeah, 100%. Lace, you're doing lessons now, so you tell those girls that.
Yeah, I tell my lessons. I can tell when you're not doing outside work because I repeat the same things over and over again and they are not changing.
It's rough, isn't it?
It's really rough. And they're like, "I don't have time." And I'm like, "You're 8. You're
Yeah.
8.
That's something I think you really got to communicate to the parents. So I think the kids
Yeah.
at that age, the parents don't understand. I don't think they really understand what it takes to learn those skills. And it can't be an hour a week. You'll go backwards week to week if you don't work multiple hours a week at that age, I think.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because there's a lot of young girls that listen to this podcast. So it's very important that Lacie even says at least 5 times a week sometimes. And that's where sacrifices come in. You guys talked about sacrifices in the pre-interview. Now, Lacie and Savannah, you guys were known for your changeups back in the day. Lace, when did you start learning your changeup again?
Like the first year I started pitching.
Yeah, the right way. Savannah, how about you? Was it just fastballs when you first started, or did your pitching coach introduce the change right away?
I was introduced into all the spins, even though I just do fastball, and then I went into throwing a flip change. But that, I think I was like probably, I want to say, I remember very specifically, I transferred from the flip change into what is still my change now is my drop curve. And the transfer over from the flip change to the drop curve, I remember it took a while, but all through 10U, I threw a flip change. And then it wasn't till I was 11 or 12 that I started to transform my changeup into throwing something that did something a little different. I know a lot of people do flip changes, and that was the flip change that I threw when I was 10 new. And then it was like, as I got a little older, I learned a little bit of a different one. And I don't remember why or how that came about. You might, Dad, but I just remember the transfer over was rough.
So the drop curve, you just throw a little slower? You just take,
So I have a knuckle on it. It's 45 miles an hour, but it drops down and out. It's a very spinny pitch. Like, it looks like I keep my wind up like the exact same, have a knuckle on the ball and just flip it around that right here. It's like a little side spin, spins down and out. And I remember very specifically in pitching lessons, there would be a week where it was spinning too much just curve, and then it was too much drop. And it took a while to really find that in between that was dropping and curving, because it definitely, it was a strenuous process of getting it perfected, but finally got it after a while.
But now, can you throw that? I see as I watch you now, I can see sometimes you throw that ball and it'll curve 10 inches to the side, and sometimes it'll curve and drop straight down. Do you do that intentionally, or is that kind of by accident at times?
I would say that there's a process of knowing what pitch I need to throw in what count. And I think sometimes I'll understand that I need to get the ball off the plate versus sometimes if I need to get the ball more down. I think I can do either one, like, on purpose, but my main idea is really just to get tight spin on the ball. And where I usually want to throw it is funny, it's where it goes. But I can manipulate it enough to the count of what I really want. If I want it to curve more and stay up, I can do that and get it more just off the plate, or I can get it to tail down into the ground, just depending on what I think of the batter and where they are on the box, how their swing is, just all kinds of things.
and the arm swing, right, Lace, is super important. You don't want to,
For the changeup?
college level, college coaches are going to see even the way you grip it or the way you bring it back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my freshman year, they're taking my changeup, and I'm freaking out. And I'm like, why are they doing that? And now you have to play teams 3 games in a row, all these series, and I'm having Justin Schultz pick my changeup at Boise State, and I'm getting all mad at him. And I think I told you, Dad, to tell him to stop, because they're like,
We're friends with the Boise State head coach, and
That we learned that lesson in about 14U, the head of the Bandits. We were playing his team, and one of his games, he was picking Savannah's changeup, and he did it, I think, intentionally, but to teach us a lesson and say, hey, we can pick this change, and this is how we win national championships. And then he coached Savannah on how to turn her glove so that he couldn't see how she gripped the ball from the third base side. So it's also a learning process. And there are some guys out there who are really good at this and can see this stuff.
yeah, Lacie,
Especially with a knuckle.
yeah, knuckle, yeah. Lacie was in high school, and Dave Mercado was actually one of the head coaches in her league, and he's all watch. Hey, he knew exactly because he can see it how she.
I
Let's
don't
give.
have a buckle on any of my pitches.
Yeah,
I don't have similar grips for a lot of my pitches, actually. I think for my changeup, though, I palm it a little bit more and not have so much finger on it.
It's okay. Sometimes when I would miss the sign and my dad knew that I missed the sign, instead of just telling me, he'd just yell out that I was throwing a changeup for the whole world to hear. That's okay, because they couldn't hit it anyway, but he would still yell at it, and I'd get so mad on the mound. I'd be like, what was that?
yeah,
It's a changeup.
yeah.
No, you were supposed to tell everybody.
Chris Garcia, he was the head coach at the Batbusters, and
Yeah.
and we were doing friendlies. You guys, I don't know if you guys did friendlies, but we would do friendlies. The other girl was like, I think the other coach was picking her signs, and so he said, Lacie, throw the change up, and they still couldn't hit it.
Nothing right.
Impact gold. Yeah.
Impact gold. Yeah.
Let's get into travel. You wrote down, Jason, Indiana Gators. Was that a travel? Is that the first travel?
Yeah, that's where we started out in travel ball. So I would say traditionally the Indiana Gators at a really young age had the best young teams in Indiana. So they're a Midwest, I would say, organization, typically a multi-state area. They do have an older national team. So that's where we started out at. And again, we had a phenomenal Gator team. I'd say that at that age, they were one of the best teams in the country, actually. We had a really good coach, really good fundamentals. I would say most of those girls are playing college ball now, actually. But then as 12U or so, then a lot of those girls, when they wanted to go, the girls that wanted to go play Division I ball, they went to more national teams and different organizations. So that's about the time we split off, was when we got recruited a little bit by Mojo, I would say.
Yeah, I wanted to dig deeper into that because I planned, we had to drive an hour. Boo, we had to drive an hour to Orange County, wait for the Batbusters. I playing for Tennessee Mojo. Yeah, because we used to, I don't know if you guys remember Corby Otis. She plays it. She's
Oh, yeah.
Florida.
Yeah.
She used to
So-
fly in to play for us. And 12U from Colorado, she would fly in.
Okay.
She would fly in to play for the Crown Angels after she left us. So that's dedication. That's like serious stuff. I driving from Indiana to Tennessee.
Yeah, that was, I would say, a great experience for us. But again, at that age, the girls are still practicing. So and I was helping coach. So we felt very committed to be at all the practices and all the tournaments. And at that age, you're really playing a lot, right? It's in the recruiting age, 12, 13. At that time, it was a heavy recruiting age. And so I would say we did 40 weekends to Tennessee and South. So it was 7 to 8 hours plus every weekend of driving down there. And again, amazing experience. I would say strenuous on Savannah at that age for school and whatnot, and probably our other kids and family, because Savannah and I leave and go, and then my wife's taking my younger daughter, my son, and doing whatever else on the weekends. So it was a very big commitment, but also I would say the first really look at national ball and playing the elite caliber ball, right? So we played the best tournaments in the country for sure, and had I would argue, one of the best teams in the country at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did get beat. We did get beat.
I want to touch on that a little bit because we sometimes get comments from listeners, and one was from South Dakota, and they're like, we don't have South Dakota. I think they have the Renegades. You're not Mojo. You're not Batbusters. You're not Beverly Bandits. So Lacie, I think Lacie talked about is you got to, if you're serious and you're committed, you got to travel. You guys put the travel on travel ball, literally.
Yeah.
Savannah, talk about because obviously you probably had friends back home and you weren't seeing them a whole lot. I'm imagining describe that kind of feeling back
Well,
then.
it's definitely hard because I did have some really good friends on the Indiana Gators that I had played with for a couple of years and got really close with. So making that kind of transition and even that decision to go play for the Mojo, I remember it was definitely hard. It was not easy to get up and basically walk away from the only travel team that I'd really ever known. And honestly, the travel team split up once I left. Like it gone within a couple days. So it sucked on that side of it, like having to really make that decision at a young age, because there's a lot of people you're hurting by leaving and young friendships. At the same time, Brooks was amazing. It was a really cool experience. Playing ball in the South is definitely different than playing in the Midwest. There's a lot better competition. They're in the sun. They can actually practice outside a lot longer than we could. Brooks was super inspiring. He was a great coach. Honestly, like I have nothing but good to say about him. Like I remember sometimes we would literally go, as crazy as this was to me, like looking back at it now, like today I'm like a 4-hour practice. Wow, that's a lot for like my body at this age. And back then we would go and practice for 7 hours a day and stay the night at Coach Cherry's house, and they would welcome us in, and they were a great family and great people all together. But it was really crazy, like literally driving down to Cookeville, Tennessee, one day, 7-hour practice, like 12, 13, like definitely just like a crazy experience, but very different competition. But I think it was good because I was obviously very competitive at a young age. So it was not like it wasn't a challenge I was willing to step up to, but yeah.
So that national championship was very, Jason, we've been back and forth on Facebook. That was probably one of the most memorable championships. A couple of the games prior to that, though, was our game against Impact Gold. And I forgot the head coach's name,
It was crazy.
but we weren't used to, right? We were just used to Southern California laid back. And And then we run into Impact Gold, and those parents were crazy. And we heard them play against one of our rival teams. I think it was the Firecrackers team. And that Firecrackers team was really good. In fact, they had a lot of girls that went on to play. But they were so intimidated by the fans that they just crumbled, right? And so that night, one of our parents was like, we have to match that energy. We have to match that energy. And for very first pitch, I think we hit a double, and we were just like going crazy. That was like our first taste of, oh my God, this is serious stuff.
Actual travel ball.
Yeah. So it's interesting. That tournament in 10U, Savannah had still played for the Indiana Gators, and our team went to a different national tournament, and we were not going to the ASA Nationals. And so we had played Brooks' Mojo team that summer, and our Gator team down in Border Wars down in Georgia. And we actually our Gator team beat that Mojo team. And Brooks, in the middle of the game, I'm over there calling pitches. He walks up from the third base dugout when other coaches were out on the field. And he said, hey, is that your daughter pitching? And I'm like, yeah. Are you guys going to ASA Nationals? And we're like, no, we're going somewhere else. And I would like to get you my phone number if you want to come play ball for us for Nationals. And so that was her first experience with Mojo. And I missed the first half of that week because I'd already taken a week off work to go to Savannah's Nationals. And about the last 2 or 3 days, I'm sitting at work and I see they keep winning and winning. And I just told my boss, I'm like, man, I got to go. I got up and left work and drove down to Tennessee to watch the last couple of days, but I missed most of the week. Actually, my wife was with her that week. I had to work sometime that summer.
Yeah. So, Lacie, we could have won the ASA National Championships if that never happened.
Yep. I remember playing third base that game.
Yeah, that's
pictures of me with my stupid sunglasses and my black hair.
Yeah, you did play third. Against Mojo? Not against.
No, there's
Was there a sudden impact team because there was a team that we played in the semis to get to you guys? I forgot. Was there a sudden impact?
I played Impact Gold for the semis.
Oh. Anyway.
I do remember watching you pitch at that age, Lacie, and I'm like, man, I thought at that age, you and Savannah were the closest two pitchers to each other that I'd seen. So we had Elena Escobar was another girl that was pitching for Mojo, and she was a different kind of pitcher. She was a power pitcher at that age. But I thought you and Savannah I was like, man, just watching you two go back and forth. I was like, I was watching the same kid almost at that age pitch.
And it was good. It was good softball. I think the score was like 2-0. Right? It was just really good. I think you guys may have 3 hits. We may have more. It was just like at 10U, you're expecting error after error and drop third strike.
Yeah, not at all.
That was a really well played game. I thought.
I'm pretty sure we played you guys twice and the score was 1-0 both games. They were very good, but both teams were incredible. And the pitching was very good at that age. I was really surprised how good the pitching was at 10U. Right.
Savannah, you could probably relate to this, but because you talk about 7-hour practices, we had the same. Obviously, we were only driving like an hour and a half, but 6 to 7 hours, little 10-minute lunch break, maybe. Yep. We had a little hill in the background, so that would be a really nice discipline technique if we had an error. But I was going to say, at such a young age, we were just drilled into the ground, just especially with the error thing. If we dropped a ball, you got to run. And that's, years old. I'm scared. I don't want to run. He would kick people out of the field, get off the field if you can't feel the ground ball. And if you can't do it right, get out of here. It's a hard environment.
It is hard for young girls at that age, but I'll tell you what, it makes you better, right? If you can handle that, you can handle the rest of your career, I think.
Yeah. So what you guys don't know is, I think it was January or February, half the team quit. And then we had to pick up another half of the team. So there was a girl that plays for Baylor now that she left the Saturday, on a tournament. She left that Saturday because, to Lacey's point, she's playing third and she's warming up and she overthrows just the warm-ups, right? The first base is throwing it to him and she overthrows him and he goes, you're out. Third baseman right there. They left right after that game. She ends up coming back to the Batbusters and going to Arizona. And so she's super good. But
yeah,
at that age, you don't know. And then just half the team quit. So we ended up being Another half. Part of it was he was trying to simulate Mike Stith because we were in the Batbuster organization. So he was trying to simulate like his practices. And looking back, I'm like, these girls are 9 and 10 years old. What are you doing? But you said it, the half that stayed and then the half that came back, came in, they were the right fit. They understood like this is it. We want this.
So the girls have to want it and the parents have to want it. Like it's not one or the other. Everybody's got to buy into that at that age. And I think it's very few kids can really handle that type of coach at that age and that pressure.